He was just a bet for her, until she fell in love for real. The cafeteria buzzed with laughter, but Claire's focus was razor sharp. She leaned forward, smirking. So, just 2 weeks? That's all I need? Mia chuckled, stirring her iced coffee. If you can make Daniel Reed fall for you in 2 weeks, you win. But let's be real, he's practically invisible. Claire's eyes flicked toward the corner of the room. Daniel sat alone, headphones on, lost in a book like the rest of the world didn't exist. Too easy. She pushed back her chair, flipping her hair over one shoulder. Watch and learn. Mia grinned. This is gonna be fun. As Claire approached Daniel's table, her confidence never wavered. She slid into the seat across from him, flashing a sweet, practiced smile. Hey, she said casually. Mind if I sit here? Daniel hesitated, eyes lifting from his book. His gaze was deep, unreadable. For a second, Claire almost faltered. Then he shrugged. Sure. She smiled. This was just a game to her, a silly little bet. But what she didn't know was, this game was about to change everything. Claire leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. So, Daniel, what's your deal? He raised an eyebrow. My deal? Yeah, you always sit alone, lost in your own world. What's so interesting in there? She tapped his book playfully. Daniel smirked slightly. Maybe I just prefer fiction over reality. Claire chuckled, twirling a strand of her hair. Oh, come on, reality's not that bad. Daniel studied her for a moment, then closed his book. Depends on who you're talking to. For the first time, Claire felt something unexpected, a flicker of curiosity. This was supposed to be easy, so why did it suddenly feel different? The next day, Claire found Daniel at the same spot, earphones in, head buried in another book. She slid into the seat across from him. Do you ever read something and feel like it was meant just for you? Daniel pulled out his earphones, intrigued. Depends on the book. Claire grinned. All right, Mr. Mysterious, recommend me one. He thought for a moment, then slid his book across the table. Try this, but don't just read it, understand it. Claire took the book, her fingers brushing against his. It was just a game, just a bet. But for some reason, her heart skipped a beat. Claire never planned to actually read the book, but that night, she found herself flipping through the pages, drawn into the story. The next morning, she dropped it onto Daniel's table with a smirk. Okay, I'll admit, it was good. Daniel raised an eyebrow. You read the whole thing? She shrugged, playing it cool. Maybe. A ghost of a smile crossed his lips. Tell me your favorite part. Claire opened her mouth, then paused. She actually had one. For the first time, she wasn't just pretending. The rain poured outside as they walked together, Claire hugging her arms for warmth. Without a word, Daniel pulled off his hoodie and draped it over her shoulders. Claire blinked, caught off guard. What are you doing? You're cold, he said simply. She should have laughed it off, teased him, kept it light. But instead, she just stood there, feeling the warmth of his hoodie, and something else she couldn't quite name. This wasn't part of the plan. Claire found herself seeking him out now, laughing at his sarcasm, teasing him just to see that rare smirk. One afternoon, as they sat on the library steps, Daniel glanced at her. You're different from what I expected. Claire tilted her head. Oh? And what did you expect? He hesitated, then said, someone who wouldn't notice a guy like me. Her heart did something strange. She was supposed to be leading him on. So why did it feel like he was pulling her in instead? The deadline was approaching, but Claire couldn't bring herself to end it. Every moment with Daniel felt real now, like a story she didn't want to close. One evening, Mia's text popped up. "Time's almost up. You ready to tell him?" Claire stared at her phone, her heart pounding. She'd come so far. She'd seen Daniel laugh, share his fears, even open up about his past. But now, she wasn't sure how to walk away from him. Was she still just playing a game? Or had she lost her heart somewhere along the way? That night, Daniel and Claire sat on a park bench, the city lights flickering around them. "I feel like I've known you forever," Daniel murmured, staring at the sky. "It's crazy, right?" Claire swallowed hard. "Yeah, crazy." He turned to her, his eyes soft. "I don't let people in easily, Claire, but with you, it's different." Her chest tightened. She should have told him the truth right then, but instead, she whispered, "It's different for me too." And for the first time, she wasn't lying. Claire's guilt was suffocating her. Every time Daniel smiled at her, every time he trusted her, it felt like a knife twisting deeper. At lunch, he reached for her hand, his touch gentle. "You seem distracted. Everything okay?" She forced a smile. "Yeah, just thinking." Daniel chuckled. "That's dangerous." She laughed along, but inside, she was breaking, because if he ever found out the truth, she'd lose him forever. Mia wasn't letting it go. "Claire, the bet is over. You won. Just tell him and move on." Claire shook her head. "It's not that simple." Mia frowned. "It is. He was just a bet, remember?" Claire's voice came out quieter than she expected. "Not anymore." Mia's eyes widened. "Oh no, Claire, tell me you didn't actually fall for him." But Claire didn't have to say anything. The answer was written all over her face. Claire knew she couldn't keep hiding the truth. Every second with Daniel felt like borrowed time. One evening, as they sat by the lake, Daniel brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You're different when you're with me," he murmured, "like you're not pretending." Her breath caught. He didn't know how right he was. She opened her mouth, the confession burning her throat. But then he smiled, and she lost the courage to break his heart. The truth came out, but not from her. Daniel stood frozen, Mia's words still echoing in his head. "It was a bet, Daniel. A stupid game. She never meant any of it." Claire reached for him. "Daniel, please let me explain." He stepped back, his eyes cold, distant. The warmth, the trust, all of it was gone. "You already did," he said, voice sharp, "from the very beginning." And with that, he turned and walked away. Claire had never felt emptiness like this before. She tried calling, texting, nothing. Daniel had shut her out completely. Days turned into weeks, and the ache only grew worse. She didn't care about the bet, about what anyone else thought. She just wanted him. So one evening, heart pounding, she stood outside his house. When the door finally opened, Daniel's expression was unreadable. "I don't want your excuses, Claire," he said. She took a shaky breath. "I'm not here to give excuses. I'm here to fix what I broke." Daniel crossed his arms. "Fix it? How? By telling me more lies?" Claire's eyes burned. "Number." "By telling you the truth? The whole truth." She took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "Yes, it started as a bet, but somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. I fell for you, Daniel, and that scared me more than anything." He stared at her, his jaw tight. Silence stretched between them. Then he whispered, "And how do I know you're not just playing me again?" Tears welled in Claire's eyes, but she didn't look away. "Because this time, I have nothing to win, nothing to prove, just you to lose." Daniel's expression didn't soften, but something flickered in his eyes. Hesitation, conflict. She stepped closer, voice breaking. I love you, Daniel. Not because of a bet, not because of a game, but because I can't imagine my life without you. For a moment, he just stood there. Then, with a heavy sigh, he whispered, I don't know if I can trust you again, Claire. Her heart clenched. This wasn't a fairy tale. If she wanted him back, she'd have to fight for him,